All right.
Just do what we do, man.
Just make the magic happen.
Yes, a little bit.
All right. Step a little bit closer to me.
Yes.
All righty. We're rolling and we're counting down in 3, 2, and 1. We are in the city of brotherly love. He's Keith Mills of the Navy Radio Network, and I'm Luke Slabaugh. Keith, we're talking Navy versus Temple, kicking off at 2 p.m.
Yes, it is, and a venue that Navy and their fans are very familiar with. Philadelphia, 148th time the Navy football team has played in that city of brotherly love. Of course, it's been the home to so many Army-Navy games, and now the Temple and Navy are in the American Athletic Conference. This venue is like the second home for Navy football, so it'll be interesting to see how Navy handles what will not be a hostile crowd today. The last time we were here was probably as many Navy fans as there was Temple fans.
148th time Navy plays in Philly, only the 143rd season that the midshipmen have played football, so a home away from home. Keith, a big discussion point this week was the health of the offensive line. It was suspect during Air Force. Head coach Brian Newberry saying this week it's healthier, but maybe not where they want it to be.
Certainly not at this point in the season. Everybody's nicked up a little bit, but man, I give a lot of credit to Josh Pena and Sam Glover and Connor McMahon. Those guys have all been playing hurt. You know, we spent a lot of time on the sideline talking about Connor's ankle issues. Man, he comes off, he gets it taped up, he goes back in. These kids are rock solid, tough, with a lot of pride. And I guarantee you, after that Air Force game last week where they really struggled to control the line of scrimmage, there was a lot of talk in the locker room and on the practice field about getting back to Navy football. It obviously starts up front with an offensive line that has been nicked up, but this week off has helped everyone involved with the offense, particularly the line, maybe get back to basics and get back to playing some old-time rock'em sock'em Navy football at the line of scrimmage.
Back-to-back, or basics, is definitely something that
no question.
You and Coach Newberry have talked about all week. He just spoke to me in the tunnel saying that it is the identity. Run the football. Great play on the defensive back end today against a quarterback who has a great lineage to his name.
Well, great. Warner is his name, and Kurt Warner is his father, of course, the Hall of Famer. E.J. Warner, who we're talking about, now a sophomore. Navy got a chance to see him up close and personal last year as a freshman. He came in relief and threw for 250 yards, had a great game. Navy won that game in overtime. E.J. has been nicked up with some injuries himself. He hasn't played he's missed a couple of games this year. He is supposed to play today, and that will put a lot of pressure on the Navy defense in regards to defending the pass. They've struggled running the football this year, but if he's in there, he can really sling it around. Of course, his dad, the greatest show on turf with the St. Louis Rams, where they won a Super Bowl with his father quarterbacking, now a network broadcaster, and really an interesting guy when you hear him talk about football. Hasn't really kind of flaunted his son's career a lot. Says, hey, my son's a quarterback at Temple, I'm a father. But E.J. is really one of the fine young quarterbacks in the American Athletic Conference.
Humility was a staple of Kurt Warner in St. Louis.
You're a St. Louis guy, right?
A childhood hero of mine. Kurt Warner is amazing.
Class act.
And very happy for him and his family. It was also a breakout game. You mentioned that game-ending interception in the end zone in overtime. The breakout game for Deshaun Peele, who has become a leader in that defensive backfield.
No question about it. Ray Lane still is probably the quintessential leader, but Deshaun Peele battled injuries again early in the year. He has really stepped up, had a fumble recovery last week against the Air Force that Ray caused. And again, he and Mabidi Williams and Elias Slater, a lot of guys that are playing really their first significant roles in this Navy defense have really stepped up. But, man, Deshaun has been rock solid in coverage. He's been rock solid in coming up and providing run support. They'll be tested today, no question about it.
You know, some word that has never been used this season is rebuilding or starting over. In a sense, with the youth on the defense, it feels like this is a prelude to a bigger season or maybe some great things down the road. However, a lot of Navy goals are still ahead of them, making a bowl game and, a game against Army up in Boston. It's going to be the best. Seems like it's yet to come here in 2023.
Everyone with the Navy program will tell you that. Again, the offensive performance last week has everybody scratching their head saying, man, what happened there? That's a combination of injuries. It's a combination of just Air Force kind of licking them at the offensive line. With that said, the Navy defense has been rock solid since Jump Street. They did give up the big 94-yard touchdown pass last week, which was the biggest play of the game, of course. But other than that, they shut down one of the most high-powered powered offenses in the country, and their run game really was no factor. So that is something really important to build on moving forward. You mentioned the bowl game. That is still possible. You get 3 more wins, you're bowl eligible. Brian Newberry talked this week about it would be a huge boost for this program. They haven't been to a bowl game since 2019 when Malcolm Perry led them to the Liberty Bowl win in Memphis in that really kind of historic game against Kansas State. And of course they play Army, this time up in Foxborough at the Patriot Stadium. So there's a lot to play for, but it starts today. This is a game Navy knows they can win, but they also know that Temple can beat them. Same with UAB down the road and SMU. Navy can beat everybody. Everybody can beat them. But it starts up front. If Navy can establish some power, or some consistency on the offensive line and get back to that basic option football. It's funny because Grant Chestnut, the offensive coordinator today, kind of compared it to him growing up with his grandfather as a bricklayer, and he said, I worked with him one summer, and I realized I didn't want to be a bricklayer the rest of my life, but we were mixing mud, and they're like, more mud, more mud, more mud. They're doing it real quick, but they're doing it to perfection. He goes, that's what we want to strive for. Get the basics down, play fundamental football, but aggressive, be attacking Navy football.
It's kind of like the baseball cliche, the mark of effort is how much dirt you got on your jersey and dirt on your pants, and we've certainly seen a lot of that. This is Navy's 3rd true road game of the season, and both the Memphis and Charlotte games memorable. Team played, in my opinion, its best efforts. To what do you attribute just Navy thriving away from home?
I think 2 things. One, I think the young kids that are able to get off the Navy players are able to get off the yard for a couple of days. It's almost like sleep in a different bed and get away from something that is a regimented military lifestyle, which is not easy, believe me. Class, football practice, the military, that's hard. We kind of take it for granted because we're so close. They certainly do because they're a part of it, but they don't flinch when they go on the road. You're talking about that Memphis game. That game ended on a 4th down reversal call where Navy had the 1st down. It got reversed and they lost the game. I would love to have seen them run one more play to see what they would run and if they could get the win. But Charlotte, they played a dominating defensive game, had a big second half from Braxton Woodson, the freshman quarterback. We'll see if they can duplicate that effort today.
Kind of like the Bobby Bowden cliche, before you win big, you got to lose by a small margin. And we've certainly seen that first part, and we've seen the latter part as well. So this has been an interesting season so far. Keith, picks to click today.
Picks to click today. It's got to start up front. I'm going to go to the entire offensive line, particularly Josh Pena, Connor McMahon, who are still battling injuries. Can they come back and play at their level of excellence and give that offensive line a jump start? Brent Self still finding some injuries as well, or dealing with some injuries as well. The defensive side of the football, the front 3, last week those kids combined. Think about this from an interior line perspective. Daniel Bernard had 10 tackles. That's mind-boggling for a nose tackle. Justin Reed had 8. Clay Cromwell had 8. And usually those guys take on the offensive line, and it frees up Will Harbor and Colin Ramos. Well, Ramos and Harbor had big games as well. Xavier McDonald as well. So the front 7 of that Navy defense, I'll go Daniel Bernard again. If he can collapse the pocket from an interior defensive line standpoint, put some pressure up front on E.J. Warner, I think that's going to be big. And the offense, Josh Pena, Connor McMahon, and the offensive line as well. Hey, listen, Temple's struggling, man. They've given up an average of 37 points in the last 4 games. But they have a heritage and a lineage here that is top-notch. Wayne Harden, we honored Roger Staubach in the 1963 team 2 weeks ago at Navy Marine Corps. Well, Wayne Harden was the coach of that team. He's also the all-time winningest coach here at Temple. They've had Bruce Arians, who went on to the NFL. Matt Rule, who left here a couple years ago, went to Carolina, now at Nebraska. Stan Drayton's the coach right now, and they're scuffling big time. He's telling his guys the same thing that Brian Newberry's telling his all week. Hey, we can win this game. So we'll see who will.
It struck me as interesting, defensive coordinator P.J. Volker praising Bernard this week about his acumen and that there could be some coaching roles for him down the road. And you start to see the senior leadership. We've talked about Jacob Busick and Lirion Mertezi since they've been out with season-ending injuries, just how well they've stepped up and led this team. It feels like there is such a good leadership acumen from the senior class.
That's the MO, the Naval Academy. Man, these kids come in, whether you're playing football or you're just you're studying aerodynamics. You're here to become a leader in the United States Marine Corps, or United States Navy. That's why they're here. I had a chance to talk to Jacob Busick just a few minutes ago. I said, man, I give you and Learion credit. You guys are coaches right now on the field. He goes, you know, I really think we are, and it's kind of fun. I said, is coaching in your future? He goes, I don't know. Let me see if I'm removed from the game a little bit more, but that's my job right now. My job as a captain and a player who can't play, to help these guys perform on the field. That's what coaching is, to try to bring out the best of the best. Every one of these young men on this football team are future leaders of America. You don't have to worry about pride, effort, determination. That's ingrained in these kids. We'll see if it pays off today.
Learion for sure just running around with a clipboard in his hand with Coach Ingram.
Stan was way on the sideline, man.
You mentioned aerodynamics, and I'm going to pick Deshaun Peel for that very reason. A man who can go airborne on defense, him. And then Brandon Chapman, I picked him last week. I want the slot backs to be featured, and I think Chapman, an explosive play threat, a home run threat. He's my guy.
Yeah, Grant Chestnut spoke a lot about him this week, Sam. He's really kind of raw, but he is an explosive young player. They're going to try to get him on the edge a little bit more today. He can also catch the ball, so we'll see how that goes. And, of course, you got Eli Heidenreich and Alex Texa kind of in the backbone of the run game from the offensive backfield standpoint. They're going to try to get loose again today as well.
You know, Wednesday in Annapolis, it was almost freezing at practice, and Chapman had the ski mask on, and Scott Wyckoff from WBAL interviewed him, said, hey, you're from Florida, you're not used to this? And he said, no, this is football. This is football weather. And Scott was like, really? And Chapman's like, no, I'm freezing. I'm just freezing.
Wait a month when the wind starts whipping off the Chesapeake, man. It's coming right at you, Army week. You know it's football season. You know it's the Army-Navy game. But today it's Temple. That is priority number one, order of business number one today.
Any final thoughts? We're coming up on 12:30. What's your MO?
Really looking forward to today. I mean, coaches don't like to have buys early in the season, which Navy has. This is the third bye week already, but I think it was good for this team this week. One, to get healthy. Two, to refocus on basically what is the fundamental part of this Navy program, particularly offensively, and that's the run game. I would be surprised if they didn't come out and have more success today against the run. Temple's defense has been lit up the last couple of weeks in the passing game and the run game. We'll see if Navy can take advantage of that.
The longest regular season for an FBS team in the country continues. The Navy midshipmen going for win number 4, playing Temple here at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's Keith Mills of the Navy Radio Network. I'm Luke Slabaugh. Thanks for watching. Go Navy.
Good job. Just down, bro. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. That was a bad